Welcome back to another episode of Let 'Em Ride. We're going to be going over the two-game WNBA slate for Thursday, July 4th. Happy 4th of July, everybody. Hopefully fireworks aren't the only thing getting lit tonight. Hopefully we'd like these books up as well. So we're going to break down and analyze each of these games, talk about which way that I'm leaning as far as the points in the spread. And then any plays that I put in for these games, I will have listed down below in the pinned comment later. So don't forget to check back in. That way you don't miss out on any of those. And before we dive into these picks, let's recap what went down on Wednesday. We did take the Mercury first quarter team total over 21.5, and this does cash for us. Then we took Kalia Copper over 20.5 points. She cashes this midway through the third quarter. She had another great game against the Wings, just a straight baller. So it's 2-0 on the night. We're up 8.72 units on the year, 26-17 overall. Let's keep the good energy flying into this video, and let's keep stacking up on these units, guys. Now let's get into these picks. And first up, we have the Connecticut Sun taking on the Minnesota Lynx. Now, Lynx are laying 2 in this one with the over-under sitting at 153.5. The Sun come into this one with the rest advantage and fresh off of a win over the Mercury in Phoenix, who were without Diana Taurasi, Becca Allen, and then BG as well for a period of time in the third quarter. They will be on the road again here before heading back home for a 3-game homestand. The Sun are 7-2 on the road, but they're just 4-5 to the number. And they are 2-3 over their last 5 and just 1-4 to the number in that span. Now, the Lynx are back home after splitting on a 4-game road trip, and that concluded with a loss in New York on Tuesday. Minnesota held the lead for a large majority of that game, including a 65-61 lead early in the fourth, but then they fell flat on their faces with 4 crucial turnovers that sparked a late New York run, and then they could only manage 2 points in the final 8 minutes of play. Now, these two teams, they met towards the beginning of the year in what ended up being a tightly contested game. After Minnesota pounced on them early, they built a 13-point lead. Then a questionable foul in overtime with 7 seconds remaining put DeWanna Bonner at the line to secure a 1-point Connecticut win. So you have the revenge factor considered with this one, along with the fact that the Lynx are coming in off of a loss. We know the Sun play at the slowest pace, they play from inside, and they beat you with excellent defense, forcing turnovers and scoring in transition. They're scoring the second most points off turnovers, but the Lynx are allowing the fewest such points. The Sun are the 4th-ranked offensive rebounding team, and they put up the second most points from second-chance opportunities, and the Lynx are only 8th in defending against second-chance points while giving up the most offensive rebounds in the W. So this definitely plays into Connecticut's favor. The Lynx are making the 3rd most above-the-break threes at the highest percentage in the W, while the Sun are 1st in opponents' makes and shooting percentage, also playing into Connecticut's favor some. The Lynx are making the 2nd most mid-range jumpers and shooting them at the 2nd highest percentage as well, but the Sun are tough defensively here as well, allowing the 2nd fewest makes from here in the league. The thing is, as tough as Connecticut's defense is, the Lynx do own the better offense, and they have a pretty good damn defense as well. They're giving 4th most attempts from the restricted area, but only allowing opponents to hit at a 57% rate from there. That's good for 2nd in the W. The Sun attempt the 2nd most and make the 3rd most shots in the league from that area. The Sun attempt and make the most free throws, but they do so at the 4th lowest shooting percentage in the W. The Lynx are giving up the 2nd fewest free throws as well. So overall in this one, with the revenge factor in mind, Minnesota coming in off of a loss, being at home where they have been pretty dominant this year. They're 9-1 straight up. They're 7-3 to the number at home. The Sun haven't really played their best on the road, and they've struggled against any team above 500, going just 1-3 straight up and 0-4 to the number in 4 such games this year. The Lynx, on the other hand, have gone 5-3 straight up and 6-2 to the number in the games that they played against teams above 500. So, with all that considered, I got to go Minnesota here, laying the 2 points. I actually put my bet in on this one already. I caught it at -110 earlier. And if you're on the Lynx side, I would get in on this one as soon as possible. Put your bet in. I do think this number is going to keep going up. And then as far as the total, I'd lean under. But this number is sitting low enough right now that I don't really want to think too hard about playing it personally. Without a 21-point overtime from these two in their first meeting, they landed at 144 in regulation. Both these defenses are really good. Both these teams play at a slow pace, but Minnesota has the ability to light it up from deep and ruin this under here. So yeah, this just isn't one that I'd be rushing to play myself. And for our last game, we have the Washington Mystics taking on the Las Vegas Aces. The Aces are laying 16.5 with the over-under sitting at 170. Now, both of these teams come in with equal rest, having won in their last game out. The Mystics used a huge 30-point fourth quarter to complete the come-from-behind victory over the Sparks on Tuesday, and they are 5-3 in their last 8, and they have covered in 9 of their last 10. The Aces pummeled the Fever Tuesday for their 5th straight win and 4th cover in those 5 wins, which all started with the return of Chelsea Gray. The Aces have been on fire in her 5 games back, winning each by double digits and by an average of just under 13 points. These two teams didn't just meet in Washington last Saturday, with the Mystics falling 88-77, but they covered as 13-point dogs in the process. We know the Mystics are a good 3-point shooting team. They now are leading the W in above the break threes made and hitting them at a second best percentage throughout the league. The Aces have struggled here, giving up the second most such makes at the highest shooting percentage in the W, although they have improved and have been ranked more middle of the pack in the 5 games since the return of Gray. In their last 5, the Aces are attempting and making the lowest amounts of shots from the restricted area, but they are hitting them at a 77% clip, which is insane for one, but that's the first in the W. And then in the paint, but moving out of that restricted area, they are hitting the most shots at the highest shooting percentage. And the next team really isn't even close. It's New York, who sits at 2nd and made field goals from this area at 7.6 per game. And then Vegas has just about doubled them. They're making 13 per game. The Mystics are giving up the 3rd fewest looks from that restricted area over their last 5 games, but they are allowing opponents to hit at a 74% rate, and that's the 3rd highest in the W. Then moving out of that restricted area in the paint, however, they are giving up the 2nd fewest makes at the lowest shooting percentage in the league. In their last 5, the Mystics have ranked 7th defensively, 4th offensively with a 5.9 net rating. That's 4th in the W. The Aces in that time have been the 2nd ranked offense, the 3rd ranked defense, and have a net rating of 15.5 that's tied with the Liberty for 1st overall. Now, I'd like the Aces to win this one again. They're hot. They're on fire. And while they're perfectly capable of covering this line, they just did against Indiana. Laying 16.5, though, against a team that's covered at the rate that Washington has this year doesn't feel like the smartest move or the safest bet. The Mystics are 5-1 on the year, covering as double-digit dogs, so I'll lean them here to take care of business again. They have also been first half covering machines, and I like them here as well, getting 10.5 points in the first half. And then for the total, these two can score in bunches. They definitely excel more on the offensive end than the defensive. The Aces are playing at the fastest pace in the W still, and these two were on pace to cover this total in the Saturday meeting between them that we just saw. But then we saw the Mystics fall apart late, as we often have this year. They scored only 8 points in the 4th quarter. That wrecked my team total over I had in that game. It looked like a clear cash. They had over 50 points in the first half. But like I said, 8 points in the 4th quarter. And this is typical for Washington. They just kind of they lose their legs in the second half. They lose steam. So I'm going to lean under for the full game in this one in anticipation of that typical Washington second half letdown. All right, that's just about going to wrap us up here for another episode of Let 'Em Ride. Before we get out of here, though, let's recap what we went over in today's video, talk about what we are on and which way we are leaning. I'm on the Lynx, laying the 2, caught that at -110. If you're on the Minnesota side, like I said earlier in the video, hop on that now. That way you can get ahead of the line. And then I'm looking at the Washington Mystics plus 16.5 full game, but also looking at them first half plus 10.5. And both of those are just leans, so make sure you check back in later to the pinned comment so you can see if I rode along with any of those or if I found something else that I liked before tip-off that I threw in there. And you can see if you'd like to ride along with those picks as well, or maybe you look at those picks and think there's some duds and you want to do the contrary. Whatever you decide to do, throw them down in the comments. I love to see what you guys have cooked up as well and where your heads are at. And if you enjoyed the video today, found the content helpful or useful in any kind of way, please don't forget to smash that like button down there and hit subscribe if you have not already. That way you do not miss out on any of the daily content that we are dropping. And if you can hit share, it's greatly appreciated. Now that's going to wrap it up here. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the content, and I will see you on the next one.